Electricast.
Welcome into Missing the Point. It is your long-lost boy, Michael Marcangelo, joined by my guy, Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan. And on this week's edition of a loaded episode, earlier today, we sat down with the voice of the Boston Celtics, Drew Carter. Thanks, Ray, for securing that. It was great. But before we get to the fun stuff, let's get through the doom and gloom. The Patriots finished another season, 4-13, but they did something that we never thought that they would do as fast as they did it. They fired Jerod Mayo, essentially before Gillette Stadium had even cleared. I mean, there was only 400 people there the entire day anyway. But before that last person left the parking lot, Jerod Mayo was out of the job. Ray, what was your initial reaction when you saw that they fired him so quickly? Did you think it was going to happen then? And just instant thoughts, because I know that you and I have been talking about this all year, whether they would do it or not.
The initial response was, "Thank you, Lord."
Oh, Jesus.
Call on him.
Yeah, right. Call by his name.
Well, I was thankful. A lot of you were falling for the narrative of, another coach that couldn't get a run, and we know what we're getting at with him being African American. And yes, listen, they made history with him being the first African American coach. So yeah, for that, great, awesome. That was awesome. At the end of the day, it is a results business. Stop making it more than what it was. Stop trying to turn the MLK or the Malcolm X. He didn't get the job done in the words of Big Daddy Kane, and that's why he's gone. Period, point blank. That's just what it is. So my initial thoughts is just that. I'm glad he's gone. I do hope that he finds another role at some point in the future, because I do think he'll learn from this. But as for today, I consider myself the luckiest man in the world. Thank you, Luke Eric.
So I guess it's always, tough for me to be celebratory about somebody losing their job, especially me, my current situation. But
if you know, you know. Wow.
Yeah. And if you don't know, you can't know for a couple more months. Now, the thing about Mayo is that it never felt like he was on the right foot. Right? It felt like this was doomed to fail right off the bat. Obviously, it's weird for me to believe that he didn't know the type of organization or the type of team that he was taking over, given that he was here last year. Like, everyone today has been like, well, they set him up for failure. They probably, they sold him a bill of goods. He was here.
Literally.
He was here. He saw the talent that they had or had not, right? Mm-hmm. And he decided, you know what, I can fix this. He then says, the beginning of the offseason last year, we're ready to burn some cash. Had to walk that back. He clarified and very clearly said, we're going to win more than 4 games. That worked out well. During the season, he said that, or during the training camp, he said that Drake May outplayed Brissett and then named Brissett as the starter. Listen, I was always a man of saying, like, you don't need to start Drake May this year. Don't get that boy killed. This team is not good. I was wrong about that. I can admit that. I'm a bigger man. I'm a father now, so you have to be able to accept when you're right and you're wrong. But you can't. Every single thing that this guy said on the podium, he had to walk back. He called the team soft after the loss of the Jaguars. Next day, no, like, they're hard workers. Like, you could just go on and on and on.
Right.
So, my question to you is, what do you think? Did he deserve the job as head coach to begin with? Or should he have had more experience?
He should have had more experience. And once again, I think a couple of years ago, when he got presented with the Carolina position potentially, I think he should have took that role then, right? But he does what most people would do in that position, when familiarity breeds contentment, and he was content and happy here. So they upped the pay, they upped the contractual, whatever designs he had contractually. So they did that. And, so he stayed. But I think that he should have took that Carolina job. And I think we would have looked at it differently had we went through with Bill. We've seen him maybe struggle, even though he struggled at Carolina, but it was okay. He did this with the defense, so the running game was good down there, or he got those some lumps down there. Then you become the successor. I'd have been okay with that. But for him to be so close to the operation, Elliot Wolf to be so close to the operation, obviously AVP was an outsider, but there was still so many people that were a part of what happened previously that there's no way it was going to be super different in year one. And quite frankly, we shouldn't have had to wait to 2028, 2029 for them to be good again. No, no. Like I said, when this is not a small market, this is not the Rod Russ era. Let me see. He went 1-15, and guess what? He got canned after 1 year too. So don't put it out there to what y'all that don't put that narrative out there what y'all making it to be. It's not the first time it's happened. It's cool. He didn't produce. Leave it at that. It wasn't more than that. He didn't produce. He got let go.
Right. I
Period.
How much of it do you think is the fact that this team had a top 10 defense last year, and the guy that was supposedly the play caller for the defense now takes over the team, and they have a bottom 10 defense this year? How does that happen? Like, at what point is it? Yeah, maybe the talent isn't as whatever it might be, right? Maybe they're playing better teams, but doesn't that point to he's just losing the room slowly but surely every single week?
Yeah, pretty much. But what's crazy, they had some games. Okay. I think about week 2 against Seattle.
Yeah.
They were in it. I think week 5 against Miami. You're in it. The Colts game, you should have won. You're in it. Tennessee, when May comes back and has a great touchdown at the end of the game, you win the locker room back when you go for certain things. When they
Go,
when they
go,
when you
go
score
for
that
two.
touchdown, if you're going for 2 and you get that, they're looking at you differently. Then you got the Chicago game where they look pretty good there. Defensive was probably that was their best defensive output all year against Chicago. So it was just like and once again, we actually was giving them praise. We was like, hey, okay, they won the third game before December 7th, like it was the year before. So it was okay. If you win 1 or 2 more, you're probably good. And what people are failing to realize, and once again, my tenor and tone is different than what we did with Drew Carter. So you'll listen to that when this is out. So
Yeah, this is dark
uh,
Ray, unintended.
it's clever. My issue is if he goes 6-11 or 7-10, he saves his jobs. He saves it. He saves his
If he
job.
loses to the Chargers 40-35, he's still the head coach.
I don't believe that.
Really?
I
Really?
don't.
You don't?
Because once again, they lost to Buffalo 24-21. If anything, that should have kept it. Buffalo's the better team. They were still trying to win that game. You know
Right,
what
but
I'm saying? So
if you think about, that stretch, right, there were that 4-game stretch, they had 3 really good games. I mean, the Rams 28-22, that loss looked better based off of the Rams versus the Bills the next week.
right.
The Dolphins, inexcusable, like, that's what happened. But then the Colts, 25-24, and then the Bills, 24-21, like, you're like, "Okay, if you lose these games competitively, it's
Mhm,
different." But when you say, "Hey, listen, just had a great game against the Bills, a great first half. You fell off in the second half.
mhm,
We're going to spend all week talking about this, preparing." And then you go out and you lose to the Chargers 40-7 against a quarterback that historically, when he comes into Gillette Stadium, not that that means anything to anybody anymore, but historically for Justin Herbert, he sucks here. He sucks against us. And he lit our asses up. Like, it instantly looked.
it's been comfortable, but that's what I'm saying. I said this to you just about majority of the year that we've been doing, our manic Mondays for the Patriot shows. Because we've been depressed. Like it's been comfortable coming down to Route 1. Comfortable. Comfortable, man, and it shouldn't be comfortable coming in there. Once again, if you wanna go to Five Guys or go to Red Robin before the game, cool, because it's awesome, it's great, love those restaurants, but that shouldn't be the biggest attraction to that area. It should be when you come in there with your family, spending the money that you're spending, Jelani Tavai, T-shirt wise, the money that people are spending, and we'll get into that. But the people are spending money to come into that arena to see y'all give a trash ass product, and you have the audacity to say that was the spoil. And I thought about you, Mike, because that's something you would have said to me just to get me hot. You just said, "Oh, you're spoiled, right? You acting like the New York Yankees." That's something you would have said to me just to
That
get me
sounds like
upset.
something I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane, insane, insane.
Do you know that
Out of touch.
the Patriots haven't won 5 home games in the season since 2020?
They
5.
won 5. They won. I didn't even know they won 5 in 2020.
They won 5 and 3 in 2020.
Mm, okay.
That
Well,
atrocious Cam Newton year.
we can. Yeah. So,
They went 4
wow.
and 5 in 2021 under Mac, and they made the playoffs that year. I mean, they have not won 5 home games in 4 years.
So think about that. So Cam Newton, who got slandered here under the table,
Well,
just
no, it's not slander if it's true.
he'd been better than Jacoby Brissett. He'd been better than
Yes.
that.
Oh, yeah. Ray, you in that
I'm
hospital bed when
saying,
you
but
dialed in
listen.
for that Sunday night sports wrap would have been better than Jacoby Brissett. Okay? Like, let's not we don't need to talk about that. But
Yeah, but I don't know.
the head coach said that the rookie was playing better than Jacoby in training camp, and they said, "You know what? I'm gonna start Jacoby."
But let's go to a different angle for a second. And maybe someone brought it up. I don't know if they did. Whatever, they can hear it here too. Um, did he really want to coach?
Mayo?
Yeah. Did he really want to coach? Did he just say, you know what? All right, Dad, I'll do it for you. Because that's what it looked like. He looked like he was talking to Phil Drummond. That's a different Shark reference for those that don't know that show. That's that he looked like little Arnold. Sure, Dad, I'll coach. Sure, Dad, I'll go up there and lead the team. Sure, Dad, I'll take one for you. And what did it cost you? Everything.
I think, to your point, I think Jerod wanted to be the guy to replace Bill more than he wanted to be the next head coach of the England Patriots, if that makes sense.
And it cost him.
Right.
It absolutely makes sense. Yeah, it cost him though.
He was our candidate.
You didn't, but that's what it wasn't thinking things through. There's a reason why he went into business after leaving football. I'm not sure he loved football all that much after all them injuries and all this went on. And that's fine. That happens. Bill brings you back to be a coach, saying that you can do this. You're building your cachet as a play caller, with Steve and with Brian. But then once them guys leave, it looks a little suspect. That's not a notch to your belt under your belt.
Can I tell you the turning point for me?
Yeah.
The real turning point for me. I don't think we talked about this. Overtime against the Titans. He didn't know which way the wind was blowing that day, so he picked the wrong end zone to play from. How do you not that? That was something that we took for granted so much with Bill over the last 23 years. There's nothing that happened on the football field that Belichick didn't know about, mainly because he was recording it illegally. But even still, he had a good sense of everything that was happening.
Right.
And now this guy doesn't know what end to play from.
Crazy.
It just felt like you hired him to be a good communicator. He sucked at communication. You hired him because he was going to be a player's coach, which, by the way, has had a negative connotation on sports talk, on sports podcasts for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a lot of the players that signed up last year, by the end of the season, were kind of over Jerod. So he lost the locker room. He didn't do anything in terms of, I wouldn't say that there was any intricate play calls on the defensive side, which should have been his forte. DeMarc Covington, I can't believe he still has a job. So he should be fired too. But one thing I do want to talk about, I can't believe I'm going to say this. You're new to me. I don't think you need to fire Alex Van Pelt. They're going to, but he is the most qualified. Now, this could be like he's the best of a worst, but he is the most qualified assistant coach on that team. And just look, somebody had to get Joe Milton up for that game. He knew he wasn't told he was going to play until the game started. Now, I know he was playing against threes. I get that. I'm not saying let's not the next starting quarterback.
Quick aside, it's unreal how good he looked yesterday. I don't care if it's NFL talent.
Yeah.
So
who got him ready for that? Who called that game? Alex Van Pelt.
It basically was Robert Kraft. Because
if Kraft called that game, they would have literally just handed it off right down the middle the entire game and lost. So you saw Drake get better and more comfortable. I'm just saying, I know that this is
making the reversal. To be the play caller.
Sure, but there is something to consistency because now you run into a situation where it's going to be Drake's second offensive scheme in a second year, and if you do that, you're on the course to ruin him like you did Mac. Although this guy is far more talented than Mac Jones was. That's just my take. I know that I didn't mean to get you so upset here on this on my first show back in a couple of weeks, Ray. Sorry, but who do we bring
We
in?
just really talking about, we haven't talked Patriots in a while, even before the baby miracle came. So that's different. But there's no miracle in room one. There's none. It's over.
None.
And it's unbelievable. I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, on the surface, on paper, sure, yeah, AVP looked the best of them all eventually, yeah. But even him, his dumbass had to come around too, because he was acting like Drake May couldn't play it. I'm like, man, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? So it's footwork, man. I said, there's a bad footwork or not. That man can backpedal to better offense than what Jacoby Brissett anybody else was doing on that team. What I will say, and because we seen it yesterday, I will say May and Milton need to be your 1-2 for the future. For right now, they absolutely Milton should absolutely be the backup going forward. Absolutely, absolutely. Because I think once again,
Or you just trade him for maybe you can
no,
get like a dude. We still
that,
need an offensive line. I mean, I love Joe Milton. We
no,
don't need
no,
a legend.
I hear you, but to I'm the only reason why I'm apprehensive about that is when they've drafted these interior linemen in rounds 3, 4, and 5. Who was panned out recently?
Oh, nobody.
Nobody. So to me,
I mean, you can't keep, but this is like the Celtics thing, like that. Shoot 7 of 41 one night, but I mean, you keep shooting.
sure, but my thing is at least just have 1 or 2 hit, right? Like you're saying, right? Just have 1 or 2 hit. Um, I'm more concerned what they do at the top of the draft for rounds 1 and 2. And we'll talk about that as it gets closer. I already have a list of names that I've been looking at. I'm a nerd when it comes to shit like that, but we'll get into that. But yeah, like I don't know, man. Some's got to give, and everyone's got to go, bro. Like the
I
fact
agree.
that we have Covington being gone is a joke. The only guy I had to keep is Jeremy Springer because he got it, and I once again, your only Pro Bowler came for special teams, even though it should have been Gonzo. Gonzo should have been a Pro Bowler. Um, like I don't know how that doesn't happen. That's unbelievable to me that Christian Gonzalez is not a Pro Bowler. Wild. Absolutely wild. But it's cool. He'll get the rest of the offseason. It's cool, but like to me, he'd been locking down some of your favorite receivers all year. Not an opinion, that's a fact. So
Before we get into who could possibly replace Mayo,
mhm.
was it a fireable offense in and of itself just to win that game yesterday?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Once again, as fans, we can feel that way. I totally now I've been someone that says, hey, you gotta go out and winning games, right?
Yeah.
Like that I've been a big supporter of that. So yeah, you can't tell the locker room to tank. You can't do that. You gotta say, hey, we go out with on a positive note, and they did for them in the locker room. So great, cool.
Well,
But
and because Buffalo played their third stringers.
yeah, I mean, it's clear that them in Kansas City threw the game. It's clear.
Oh
It's
yeah.
clear. Um, and once again, I don't think people expected Joe Milton to play that well.
No, of course not.
And the reason why I can say that because you can hear in the comments like, just start Joe, just start Joe. So they thought he was going to be terrible because he showed some nice moments in the preseason, but that from what we saw in the preseason, it was like, oof, whoa, and like I was like, wow, that dart to Keyshawn Wood, I was like, whoa, like. I mean, they couldn't have done this because it wouldn't have looked right in the middle of the year. But I'm like, I'm like, we could have started Joe until week 6.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, you could start Joe to week 6 and just say, okay, go out there, Joe.
He was cheaper than Brissett. He's more
Mhm.
athletically gifted than Brissett. What I mean, there is no reason in theory to not start him. Although
But the offense, you can't have the guy that you drafted in the 6th round.
started, but yeah, I know the
Look at
offensive
the
breath.
this is the whole different thing. A whole different
Right.
thing. Um,
Um,
but crazy. Yeah,
who are
but
they
I mean,
going
yeah,
after?
he did, unfortunately.
Who do you want them to go after?
Ben Johnson.
I
I
know.
like Vrabel, and I understand why folks are saying that. It's time we get away from the regime completely. I I don't want
Well,
any piece
Vrabel
of it.
isn't part of the Belichick regime. He's never coached under Belichick,
Any
ever, ever, ever.
anybody they feel comfortable with, I don't want. No, I'm serious because it's like if they're comfortable with them, they won't do what they're supposed to do.
Well,
And they
they want their guy. They want their next coach to work with Elliott Wolf.
I don't what does he have? Does he have photos on Robert Kraft?
Oh, he's got some of those massage photos. He must.
I'm just like at this moment, what are we doing? Like, why? Because your father's Ron Wolf?
He wrote the book, The Packer Way,
Well,
Patriot Way.
hello.
Come on.
His son is writing the lose away right now. It's not good.
Well,
It's not
I
good. Like
so
can't develop talent. Um, don't win no talent, but hit him in the face.
okay, but can we at least now? I'm trying to be more generous here.
I'm trying too. I'm trying.
I don't give him any credit for May.
Exactly.
Do you really give him a lot of crap for Polk? Wasn't wasn't that the right spot to take him? They didn't reach for him.
Wait, but before I answer that, you believe that? Like
Yeah,
with all your heart, you believe that
yeah.
that was their reach.
I mean,
When the
you should. I mean, you shouldn't have traded the Chargers pick, and then
Oh, okay. Thank you.
right,
I was
right,
about
right,
to say
right,
what
right.
I'm like,
But if every
what are we doing here?
no, no, if everything,
Um,
but if everything else happened the way that it did, and you still had that pick, and Jalen Polk and everyone else is on the board, knowing what you
you
knew
say
then,
lad. You take lad.
right? That's knowing what you know now, but knowing what you
No,
know then.
no. Even no. At 34, because I was like, okay, he's gonna be there. I didn't know much about Pork. I knew about Dunze because I knew he was probably gonna go top 10 and he did to Chicago.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know much about Dillable. I knew about Lad because he was in Georgia and I seen his combine. And I'm like, this is a Patriot receiver. We knew this. But because you can't take Lad and we got Plum Douglas. Huh? Like he's better than Pop. Look at the numbers. Once again, and I say this on the show all the time. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. And the worst part, Mike, we say you seen him come into your building and he ran all over your defense. It had not one but two touchdowns. It
So
was dancing only your end zone.
Jalen Polk ended the year with 12 catches for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Unbelievable.
Not great.
So 7 yards of reception.
Yeah, no,
7 yards, well, 7.2, whatever.
that's not good.
7.2. Not good.
To put
So
that in
not
comparison,
numbers.
Lad McConkey had 82 catches for 1,149 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Wow.
Averaged 71 yards a game.
Mm, mm. Unreal. And once again, you're not telling me he wouldn't have got those type of numbers with Drake. Because Drake can sling it. Drake can
Yeah.
sling it. And if you had a guy that would catch the ball on a regular basis, I do think, once again, Kayshon Boutte, you keep him going forward. I think that he emerged as someone that could be here going forward. He's become the most consistent. He went from
Yes.
being in the doghouse with Bill. He's helped them make a name for himself a little bit. He's kind of in that Jacoby Myers, Troy Brown ilk for me.
Love that.
Pre-Raider fumble. Well, not even fumble, pre-Raider blunder. It wasn't a fumble. He thought I don't know what the fuck he was thinking,
You
but
just throw it. You just throw it.
yeah, just do it. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, but yeah, he's in that category. So I think that if he continues to build and grow, you know, he'll never be a one, but he'd be a really good two or an excellent three.
All right. Well, this is enough of the doom and gloom. It's a new year. We need to start off in a happy tone. So we're going to go from talking about the worst team in Boston sports to the best team in Boston sports right now. We did that. with the voice of the Boston Celtics, Drew Carter, and we will get to that after we pay some bills and a word from our sponsors. So stay tuned.
So, in the words of Drewski, we got him. We effing got him. So, but from behind the scenes, listen, I've worked on this for a while, guys. So this is special to me, man. So, met our guest about almost a year ago now. If you don't know who I'm talking about, he is the current voice of the Celtics. You can also find him on ESPN. He's now a new friend of the show, my guy, Drew Carter. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing, man?
What up, Ray? It's good to be with you guys. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for your patience too. I know we've been trying to make this happen, but as you know, it's a busy time of year, especially for you, Ray. I mean, you're working not just Celtics, but Bruins over at the Garden, so it's busy. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, like I said, as soon as I think I met you in the security line. I was just like,
Yeah.
hey, what's the I was like, so yeah, I was on it, but yeah, like you said, we have Bruins, as we're recording, there are Bruins, this week we have Celtics at the end of the week, so I'll see you on Friday. I think I guess the Kings, if I'm not mistaken, man. But
We
yeah,
met at the
no,
Bruins game, didn't we? Did we meet at a Bruins game when I was
yes,
coming in?
yeah, sure did. Yep, it was at a Bruins game. I was just like, yeah, like you're the voice of the Celtics. Like, why don't you come on the show? You're like, yeah, man. And like I said, I'm just glad, like I said, we was able to make this happen because, like I said, it was a long time coming, but I'm appreciative of it for sure, and I'm glad I'm able to do it with my guy, Money Mike Marcangelo, who's also a new dad. So this is the first time him being on the show since having his son. So, what's up, Braden? How you doing, big guy, watching us
Love that.
from the crib. So yeah, so all right, yeah, let's get right into it, man. So. Like you said, like I know you've been now with the Celtics for now, as you said on your Instagram post, a year and a half now. So you're big time vet over there. So just, I mean, but yeah, tell us how it's been, man. Just how has it been, making that transition to now being a full time guy? Because obviously last year, you were only taking games on the road, but now you're doing everything. So just how has that been for you? Making that transition.
Yeah, I said in that IG post, I said year 1.5 because it sort of felt like last year was almost like an appetizer because, Mike was doing the home games and what a way for him to finish his run as the voice of the Celtics, 43 years and the last one is with a championship. So it was fun to be on the duck boat with him. That was probably the highlight of last season. But doing the road games, sometimes there would be 2 weeks where I'd go by without doing a game and, wouldn't really see the guys on the team. And it was kind of hard to get into a rhythm. This year has been awesome, like really great. Feel like we're in a nice rhythm on the broadcast. The team is nasty again. We don't lose very often. People tend to think the announcers are better when their team is winning. So that's nice. I've stepped into a great situation. If I were calling like I don't want to throw any strays out here,
607
but
Celtics.
yeah, sure, like a maybe like a team that wasn't quite as good from our
Yeah,
history,
yeah.
then, I don't know, it might have been a little tougher to step into that, but it's been an incredible experience, like, it is a dream job, and Ray, you mentioned that I do some ESPN stuff as well. What I've always wanted to do is be the voice of a team and do some national stuff on the side, and very blessed to be able to do that, and it just so happens that I'm working for the best franchise in sports, that's the best team in the league right now with the best fans, plays in the best building, and is in the best city, so it worked out pretty well.
Why do
Yeah.
I think that you were about to say the New England Patriots? And I saved you by saying 06, 07 Celtics. It felt like that, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if I were working for the Pats right now, that would be ugly. I don't think anybody would like me
Yeah.
unless, I got to call the rise of Bazooka Joe as he
Yeah.
turns into the next Hall of Fame Patriots quarterback.
Yeah. Touche. Now you mentioned that you always wanted to become the voice of a team and doing some national stuff on the side. When you're taking over for a guy like Mike Gorman, right, who's been here, like you said, 43 years, and he is a staple in Boston. What type of added pressure is that? Does it alter your preparation at all? I'd be interested to hear your take on that.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I imagine it's not quite as much pressure as being a new dad, and congrats on that, by the way, Mike. But
Hey,
it was the first time really in my career where I felt like real scrutiny, because, I graduated from college 5 years ago. My first job was in Birmingham, Alabama, doing, local sports on the CBS affiliate there, which was a great first job, and I was really lucky to get it, but there were a lot of times where it felt like if I made a big mistake, nobody would see it. It was a good place to learn and, get my feet wet. And then I went to ESPN and, working for ESPN is a dream too, but I was doing pretty low profile events that again, it didn't feel like that many people were watching. And like if someone doesn't like the way you call their team's game, they might send you a tweet, but then they'll forget about you the next day. You kind of parachute in and parachute out, I guess.
Right.
I guess that's not possible, but you leave. So then, you're working with the Celtics and you're doing the same team over and over again and the fans start to know you. And I think that's the gift of working with a team is you get to develop a real relationship, not only with the people around the team who play for the team and coach the team and work for the team, but also the fans. It's a very intimate relationship. And if you do the job well, they feel like they know you. They feel like, you're their friend and they enjoy watching the games with you. So anyway, Mike was a master at that because Mike is incredibly genuine. I think anyone who's had the chance to meet Mike would tell you that he's exactly who you hope he is based on who he is, when you're watching the game. He's the same dude when you meet him. He's super cool, he's super smooth.
Mhm.
He's incredibly humble. And I think, I don't know if it surprises him, if that's the right way to put it, but the fact that people stop him and say, like, you're the only voice of the Celtics I've ever known in my entire life, that doesn't affect the way he treats people at all. He's
Yeah.
still the same guy. So when I was walking around with him and I would see that happen, it was a little intimidating because I'm like, I do kind of feel like Mac Jones trying to follow Tom Brady. Now, hopefully this goes better than that did. But it is a lot of pressure, man. It's big shoes to fill. It's a legend. And, people expect a certain standard from this position.
Yeah.
So last year, I I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I feel like I didn't do a great job of managing it because I was trying to walk this fine line between being myself, which was the most important thing and the biggest piece of advice I got from everybody I talked to, and it was a lot of people. I was looking for advice from pretty much everyone,
Mhm.
but also do right by Mike and not make it too jarring of a transition. And he and I have very different styles, so I was like almost trying to mimic him while remaining true to myself, and that was hard. And I don't know if I did a great job of it. So, this year being full time, it's been a lot easier. And I also feel like I'm just more comfortable in the role. And a big part of that is, meeting people at games and hearing positive feedback and hopefully, starting to take the first step toward reaching, what Mike achieved, which is having
Yeah.
that great relationship with the fans.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I think that you're very well on your way, and that's why I wanted to have you on here because, like I said, I listened to you on the radio. I'm not the radio on the on the road broadcast last year, and I was like, man, like I said, he's younger, but he's got it. Like, it's not not that you need to hit that validation for me, but it's like you got it. And it was like, I think about Mike Gorman, obviously, might listen to him too, and everyone else that's on the show had listened to it. The call I think about Mike every time and I was about 12 years old when this call happened, but they were on the road. This is in the middle of the Lakers three-peat, and we were out in LA and they were killing us in the first half. Like, Shaq dunking over everybody, Kobe shooting fadeaways. And Tommy's like, we're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. And lo and behold, they get to the fourth quarter. They mount this comeback. And Antoine Walker hits a ridiculous shot off the glass. And you just like, Antoine Walker off the glass. Got it. Celtics up by one. And I'm like, so that's always etched in my mind. I think your Pritch Please is going to be something that people remember going forward. I think the yes, sir, on Tatum's game winner this year is going to be something that people remember. So the fact that I can already put it out there for you being in the year 1.5 lets me know that you're going to become the next staple. And I'm saying that now before someone says it a year 20, or I'm saying it now a year 1.5. So I wanted to give you those flowers now because I think there's more to come from that. So I had to put that out there.
Well, thanks, Ray. And now you'll have the receipts if anyone questions if you
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I honestly, man, I really hope you're right. Like I joke with Mike, like I'm coming for his record. I'm going to try to get 44. I'm going
There
for
you
year
go.
44 so I can break his record. But in all sincerity, like if it's up to me, I'll do this job until I retire.
Mhm.
Because there's no reason to leave. It
Right.
is the best organization in basketball, and basketball is my favorite sport. And I love living in Boston, and the fans are incredible. So why would I ever want to give that up? And I appreciate you saying that, Ray, about you know how you think I've done a good job. And just so
Mhm.
like that validation means a ton to me because you know, the fan base opinion is the most important thing to me. Like
Mhm.
I want Mike's approval, I want Scal's approval, I want Abby's approval, and our production team, and I want the fan base because the most important thing is that we can enhance a fan's experience when they watch their favorite team. And that's really why I kind of felt anxious going into last year. It's like, damn man, if people don't like me, then I'm gonna detract from their enjoyment of their favorite thing. It's not like, you know, doing a podcast where if someone hates what I say, they can just turn it off. Like they're gonna watch the Celtics regardless. And it's on us to enhance, not detract from their experience. So I put a lot of thought into it and definitely felt a lot of pressure, but more so last year. And this year I feel really comfortable and I think we're in a great spot. And hopefully, you know, coming on a big time show like this will just help. You know, will just help the
Oh,
fan
bright
base get
the
to know
bright
us and
lights.
yeah.
Red lights, baby. That's
Yeah.
right. You said
Well,
you bright.
I do want to say, it's very noticeable your effect on Scal on the calls too, because over the last couple of years, Scal has always been like the wild card with Mike, and I think he was playing that part on purpose, right? But between like with you two, the chemistry is just there, like it really is, and that's hard to do. That's not a that's not an easy task. So, and I don't think that happens if you're not the right guy for the job. I also think that the stigma of the person replacing like a legend is really I think it's gone away nowadays because sports fans want their content whenever they want it and they want to hear it from people that they can relate to. And you sound like us. You are our age, right? So it feels like one of us is calling the game, which is it's a great time to be a fan. So like you should feel really proud about that. Not that you needed this Mike's validation,
I
but you have it.
do. I do. Honestly, man, Money Mike, it means a lot to me that you would say that. So thank you. And working with Scal has been one of the true joys of the job. And I think he's to be honest with you, I think he's a big reason why I got the job because for whatever reason, we just hit it off from the jump. We met like 2 minutes before we did the audition. I think Scal did 10 or 15 maybe auditions for the next play-by-play announcer, and I'm pretty sure we were the first like I was the first one he auditioned with. So maybe that gave me a leg up. I don't know because he did the audition on the same game with everybody. So, and we did it live. It was the second round against Philly a couple years ago, Game 6 in Philadelphia when Joel Embiid no showed. Shocker, thanks
Love
Joel.
that.
And Jason Tatum, I don't think he scored in the first 3 quarters. I
Well,
think he turned
yeah,
over
he
in the
no
fourth.
showed for a little bit. Then he in the fourth
Right.
quarter, he reminded everybody who he was for a second. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then Game 7 was when he had 50. So Game
Yeah.
6 was when we did the audition together, and we met like right before we went into this little podcast studio to tape our demo, and it went extremely well, I thought. And he's been super supportive. And I don't know what it is. I don't think we're, you know, long lost cousins or anything because I don't have any red hair. So I don't think we're related, but sometimes it kind of feels like it. He says he's like my uncle and I'm like his nephew he likes hanging out with. I think that feels pretty fitting. And the cool thing is, you know, Scal and Abby too, and the people on our pregame and halftime and postgame show, we have like a legitimate I would say camaraderie. We
Mhm.
actually enjoy hanging out with each other, like we're going out to dinner tonight because we like hanging
Nice.
out with each other, and hopefully that translates to the broadcast.
Yeah, we
No,
had
no,
Abby on.
that's good.
Sorry, Ray. We had Abby on like 3 years ago, and within like 20 minutes, it was like we just felt like you knew her your entire life. Like she,
Yeah.
if she doesn't like somebody, you have to be a real bad person. That's all I would say because she's just so nice to everybody,
Mhm.
everybody.
Abby's a legit sweetheart.
Yep.
I mean, listen, Embassy Boston has been great to us. Like Abby Forsberg's come on here. You know,
Mhm.
you're the latest to great share presence. So I'm listen. We love y'all. You know, are the only person we haven't gotten is Scal. So and Kayla too. So Kayla's new, but
Yeah.
you know, it was just like yeah. So I was like that. You guys have been great. You guys have been gracious to answer the call every time that we've reached out. So you know, you guys have become a big staple, not just with the Celtics, but with us on here as well. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, if hey, Ray, if you wanna get Scal out, I hope you got some cash lying around because
You know.
he's got a fee. He's
Yeah.
always got a fee, bro. The best you're gonna do is a cameo.
Well,
right.
we could spin that. I think.
Yeah, no, it's like, no, I'll just have to say hi to him at the game. No, it's okay. It's all good. One day, we'll get
Yeah.
there. But no, but let's actually, let's get into, you know, the team that you cover, the team that you are now on the air for. So, you know, they're now 26-10 on the season. which is giving some people, a little cause for concern amongst the fans. Once again, maybe not with the media, but with the fans, because they only lost 18 games last year. They're still really dominant on the road, but just what do you think has been their biggest challenge, as opposed to what they encountered last year?
You know, I mean, I think it might sound too simple, but I think it's what it is. Everybody's getting up to play the Celtics. Like every single night, you're going to get a team's best
Mhm.
shot. It's a long season. It's hard to do that every night. It's hard to raise your level to, 10 out of 10 every night. And for the opposing team, like when they play the reigning champs, they'll do it. And then you can look at the rest of their schedule. Like a great example is Toronto. We played the Raptors at home earlier this year and went to overtime. And, Toronto had just gotten smoked. I think they had lost 10 in a row at that time. Like they were playing like garbage. And they came to our place and took the champs to overtime. And I don't think we played that badly in that game. It's just like RJ Barrett goes for 25, 15, and 10.
Mhm.
That doesn't happen very often. Like Jakob Poeltl makes 15 of 19, has 35 points. That doesn't happen very often. It's happened a lot this year where a team will come into our building or we'll go into theirs. You mentioned the road record, Ray. We've still been pretty dominant on the road, but
Mhm.
every team is going to get up to play the Celtics, and that includes the Thunder, who we just saw over the weekend. And the Thunder came out a little flat, I would say, in the first half, but you saw the way they cranked it up. I think both teams were playing like it was a game seven.
Yeah.
So there are specific games where when the Celtics want to like pull the rug off the car or whatever, like let it out of the garage and show everybody exactly how good they are. You see it. But pretty much every team is giving that type of effort against the Celtics. And, a lot of the times that they have lost this season, again, you don't want to oversimplify it, but this team shoots a ton of threes. And some nights they're going to fall. Most nights they're going to fall. Some nights they're not. You're gearing up for making yourself unbeatable in a 7-game series. And I think the idea is we're not going to have 4 awful shooting nights basically in a row, and we'll be fine in the playoffs again. But last year, I think there was a little bit more of like an FU mentality, and they were on a tour just ripping through the league. This year, like they won the championship, they know what they need to do, and I expect them to be ready once April rolls around.
So you mentioned the threes. Do you think that that 3-point shooting, maybe not just for the Celtics, but maybe let's just talk about it for the league, is that becoming a problem? Like, do you think analytics is playing way too much of a role in it? Or for a team like the Celtics, Golden State, is that just their game?
I wouldn't blame it on analytics. I mean, I think that's like a blanket statement, a blanket word people throw on to say like it's not really an analytic to say 3 is greater than 2. I think we can all figure
Right.
that out. Um, I really don't think it's a problem. I think people are overreacting to it and looking for a reason why ratings are down. To me, it's very nuanced. Maybe that's part of it, but I would just ask fans who are complaining about too many threes, what do you prefer? Because if you look at the NBA 20 years ago, there were a lot of awful mid-range jumpers being taken, and a lot of those scores were like in the 70s. That's bad. I don't think anybody wants to see that. I think the game is actually pretty physical, which flies in the face of what a lot of people say. Like it's not, you can't hand check. It's not physical. Everything's. I don't think that's true. And we're seeing it every night up close and personal. To me, it's super physical, and I think offenses have been optimized to the point that it feels like a math equation for some people, and that's not quite as fun. But let's just be honest, like, it's not Joe Mazzulla's problem. It's his job is not to entertain the fan. If the NBA feels like there are too many three-pointers being taken, which I don't really think there are, but if the NBA feels like it, then it's up to them to, change the rules. And keep in mind, I mean, you don't wanna gimmick up the three-point line too much. Like, I don't think taking away the corner 3 is gonna solve anything. I think that would muck up spacing. I think, putting a cap on the number of threes a team can shoot or make in a game, to me, that's, like,
Ridiculous.
too far. But with that being said, like, the three-point line didn't always exist. I think people looked at the three-point line itself as a gimmick when it first came into the league.
Mhm.
So I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I think there are other reasons that ratings are down. To me, a bigger culprit is players not playing all the time,
Mhm.
and several high-profile players telling the fans that the regular season doesn't matter. that's a problem. And we're lucky to cover a team where guys actually enjoy playing. To me, that's the
So,
number one.
then how do they work around it? I'll get back to the 3 thing in a minute, but I want to focus on that last one you made there about, the whole load management thing. Because to me personally, I hate it. Once again, we grew up watching Paul Pierce, Antoine Walker, obviously, with KG, Paul and Ray, like those guys wanted to be out there every night. So it's not just this era. It's even probably long before we were born, the Larry Birds, Michaela Parishes, Dave Cowens, so on and so, you name it. Those guys wanted to be out there and they gave it their all. So I'm just like, how do they combat that? Because at the same time, it's like, yo, I get resting a guy if he's legitimately hurt, right? It's the difference between being hurt and injured. So if you're hurt and you can't be out there, okay, cool. But how do you think they should combat that? Because to me, guys sitting out whenever just because they hurt their pinky is a joke. Like it's out of pocket.
Yeah, I agree. I think like what Jimmy Butler is doing in Miami right now is embarrassing for the NBA. I think whatever's going on with Zion Williamson in New Orleans is a horrible look for the NBA. Kawhi Leonard actually came back, which I'm shocked by. I didn't really expect him to play all season, but he's back, thankfully. Thanks for showing up. It's January. Um, they tried this thing with the 65 game minimum for awards. I don't know if that's really going to do anything. Like, if you look at Joel Embiid, who's probably the most frustrating star in the NBA right now, he already won his MVP. Why does he care if he can't win another one? He comes out and says before the season, "Yeah, I'm not going to play on back-to-backs." First of all, a terrible look for him and just a completely unnecessary move, just a total self-inflicted win. Why would you say that?
Right.
Why would you say that? Just say you need to rest. No one blames Al Horford for resting on back-to-backs, but Al Horford's 38 and comes off the bench for this team when they're healthy. Joel Embiid is a guy who won MVP a couple of years ago. Uh, I guess I guess the answer is I think it has to be a couple of small things. The 65 game minimum may help. And then also, if you're going to give out like awards at the end of the season for, scoring champion or rebounding champion or whatever, do it with totals instead of averages. Because
Mhm.
I think maybe, a big reason why Joel Embiid will sit out entirely as opposed to playing 15, 20 minutes to get his body ready for the playoffs is because he doesn't want his averages to go down. That's something. But I don't
Right.
know, dude. I mean, you could go as far as like not guaranteeing contracts or paying them on a per game basis, but that's going to be impossible to pull off with the Players Association.
Right.
So I don't know. I think the best you can hope for, Ray, is just hoping that teams realize that load management doesn't work. It
But
really doesn't. Like the guys who always sit out end up getting hurt.
Exactly. And I mean, but it's the same thing in football too. Like all these guys resting in week 18, and it's just like, yo, like now you don't play for another week or two, and now it's I didn't stretch enough, or I didn't go to the trainer enough, or I wasn't in the pool enough, and it's just like all these things happen. The next thing you know, you're like, oh man, like well maybe if I played, I'd be more loose. Yeah, you think? Like I just don't understand it. Like once again, even if I'm getting 150,000, I'm out there.
Mhm.
Give me the vet men. Like I'm out there. Like there's no way that I'm not going to be out there playing as much as I can. And to me, it's a disrespect to those that are the 12th or 13th man on the team that never get to play, right? But they're out there, they're in practice every day, they're getting treatment every day. But they still can't get a shot because of the MBs or anybody else that's in front of them that's taking the chance or taking the time to get back on the court. But that's a joke. But to the Zion thing, he's actually going to be on as we're recording. I think he's playing the next game later on this week, so he should be back on the court.
We'll see
I
how
don't
that
know. I
goes.
really want to stay at 6. Yeah, I mean, listen, you're in New Orleans. I mean, you've been down there to Big Easy. The food is amazing. So,
Yeah.
he looks like me on the court. So it's wild. So I'm just like, I'm like, hey man, I'm like, once again, I get it. I've been down there, but it's like, hey brother, like you want to get in shape, you want to be better. You got to be better. But I wanted to get back to the 3-point thing because you were saying about kind of ways to maybe combat that as well. Um, I've been on the show. We've been on the show for 4 years, going on 5 years now. Um, I'm a big I'm into 3-level scoring. I just am. Layups, mid range, and then the three. There was an old school drill that my coach, Coach Richards, would teach us: 15, 17, 19, 19, 17, 15. Right? Score from everywhere so that that you're basically unguardable. Um, when you're shooting against, they're wide open. I get it. And the numbers say if you're wide open, you're an NBA player, you most likely you should make that. But when you're 7 to 31, because I heard you on the broadcast, I listened to you. I was home, I was on my couch, and I heard 7 to 31, right? You're not saying 18 to 30, which is 60%. You're not saying 20 or 31. 7 siete, whatever word you want to say, and they were 7 to 31 at one point, and I think they were 9 to 48 from the game. That's insane. I don't care what happened against the Knicks opening night when they almost broke the record. And I think that's part of what's going on too. They tried to break the record, and the basketball gods have been on them ever since. But that's a whole other thing. We can get into that. You can respond to that. But I just think, so what do you say to people like me and like Mike that like the 3-level scoring? What's your response to that?
How would you have attacked OKC's defense?
You
I'm
said,
asking. It's not rhetorical. I want to know, how would you have attacked their defense?
How would I attack? I mean, to me, when you don't have Chet out there, which I'm not saying that Chet's some big shot blocker, but
He
I
is.
do think keep attacking the basket. I'm always going to be a thing of that. Attack the basket. There was some mid range there, but I feel like if you mix it up enough, once again, if you miss a shot, you miss the shot. But it's like, to me, seeing you jack up 3 after 3 at times, not all the time, but at times, it's like, yo, try something a little different. Get to the cup. Because the thing is, they're not calling fouls for the Celtics, but that's because when you get looked at as a jump shooting team, they don't call the fouls. And that's always been like that. Even when guys in the 2000s, if you was a jump shooter, they wouldn't call fouls for you. It's like, well, you don't really get to the cup. Well, why would we call it? So I feel like that's where they're getting that disrespect. So that's kind of how I see it right now. But OKC is very tough defensively, so I'm not taking away from them. I just feel like there has to be more of a balance.
I think there was some settling. I mean, to me, mid-range is not the answer. Because a mid-range jumper, OKC will press out on you. They're gonna try not to switch. They're not gonna help because they have the best defenders in the NBA. And they did that without Alex Caruso, who's been first team all defense. They're a unique challenge defensively. And I'll say this. I mean, don't forget about, the first back-to-back of this road trip were against Minnesota and Houston, two of the best defensive teams in the league. The Celtics won twice. They scored 118 and 109 doing what they do. I don't think you can let one bad shooting night or one bad shooting quarter change the way that you attack offensively.
Right.
Because that's like the whole MO of the team. That's how, and it starts at the top. It starts with Joe Mazzulla. Like, the Celtics had their worst 3-point shooting night of the season against Oklahoma City. They were sub 20% for the first time all year, and they still had a chance to win that game. I mean, a couple of those shots go in. Like, that's basketball. You guys play basketball. You know how it is. Sometimes the ball goes in and sometimes it doesn't. So not overreacting to one bad shooting night, to me, is key. Now, that being said, like, you look at the first half, the Celtics score 65. They're dominating the paint, and that was a better strategy yesterday.
Right.
And that's more touches in the paint.
Yeah, I'm with you, Drew. I like I said, I know who pretty well, but it's just like sometimes I'm like, man, like, and once again, we're kids of the 2000s. Like, we've seen guys dominate down low, and I know it's a different game. So I don't want to sound like get off my lawn, but it's just like some nights we got to realize, like you said, 27 in the second half, it's gross. Regardless of how you want to slice it, it's gross. So I mean, like I said, I personally, I thought they were gonna beat OKC over the weekend and then maybe lose to Denver. Maybe they get motivated from the loss against OKC and blow the doors off Denver. That'd be great because Denver hasn't been, the team that they've been in the past, even though they played better with Russ as of late. So, I look forward to watching y'all on the call tomorrow night. But, I wanted to get into Jason Tatum. Obviously he's been gunning for MVP all season. Obviously, he's had many notches on his belt. Finally hit a game winner. Well, he's had some game winners, but at the buzzer, he got the game winner this year. But do you see a path for him getting to the MVP?
Not this year, which is a bummer. I mean, he's good enough for it. I think if the circumstances were different, he would have a chance. But his best argument is going to be team success, and the Celtics won 68 games last year, and he didn't win it. So it's not going to happen. Did we win 68 last year? Do I have that number right?
Well, they were 64 and 18.
64. Thank you. So they won 64 games last year. and he didn't win it. They won the East by, double-digit games, and he didn't win it. And we just saw SGA in person. The dude's ridiculous, and
Bro.
he's, like, about it every night. He does that. He's averaging 33 points per game over the last almost 2 months, and he's super consistent, and he's putting up numbers. If you look at the way that he stacks the box score with rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals, he's on pace to do something that only MJ has ever done, and they're gonna run away with the West. Like, they're 30-5 right now. They won 15 games in a row if you look away from the NBA Cup. So, Shea's gonna have the team success argument over Tatum, and his numbers are gonna be more impressive. And then you have Jokic, who, to me, I would vote for him for MVP because he impacts the game so much. If you look at their numbers with him on and off the floor, it's insane how they're one of the best teams in the league with him and one of the worst without him. So, not this year. I don't think Tatum will get there, but he's still 26. I mean, I know Celtics fans like joke about people talking about his age so much, but he's still improving. He's only 19, man. I think he's still getting better. I really do. Like, to me, he's better than I've only been around the team for a couple of years, but seeing him last year and then seeing him this year, I think he's better this season than last. And
Yes.
he has improved as an all-around guy, impacting the game in a variety of ways every year. So, do I think he can get there? Yeah. Is this the year? No.
Good.
Can you talk about the improvement that you've seen from Peyton Pritchard?
Ugh.
I mean, because
Love
one of our guys on the show,
Please.
I mean, this guy, he was someone that, people kind of wrote off on his first year. They were like, he should be better. He isn't. And now he should be a bona fide sixth person of the year. Like every single, and that should be the conversation, right? What do you think's gone into that? And what was it like just being around, like in the building during the finals last year when he was just hitting all those half court shots?
Some of the coolest moments of the year, dude. It's like, have you ever seen a special teamer in basketball? Because that's kind of what it felt like. He was like the Devin Hester of the Boston Celtics. Like, come in for he has a very specific set of skills, and he comes in there and makes that shot. And it's actually, I think it's funnier when he comes in just for that shot and doesn't get it. Like, somebody else shoots it, and he's looking over at them like, "What the hell, dude? Like, you know what I do here? That's my role." But it's also cool thinking about how that was sort of his role in the playoffs last year and looking at this season where, I mean, you're right, Mike. He's the heavy favorite for sixth man of the year. I think, DeAndre Hunter's kind of coming on for Atlanta, but he's missed a lot of time and has in his whole career. So wouldn't be surprised if Hunter gets hurt, then Pritchard's going to run away with this thing. And as for why he's having this type of season, it comes down to work, dude. Like, that guy, he works as hard as any athlete I've ever seen. Like, every time I go to the hotel gym on these road trips, Peyton Pritchard is in there. You watch him during the first timeout. Next time you're at the Garden, watch him during the first timeout of the game when he's not going to check in because the timeout will come with like 6:30 in the first quarter, under 7. He's not coming in the game yet, but he is ready, dude. Like, he begs the ref for the ball. He's doing his little dribbling routine, like he's sprinting around, like trying to break up a sweat so he can be ready once he gets in the game. He's incredible. We talked with one of our sports science guys, Scal and I did in Minnesota, about like, do you ever put a limit on Peyton Pritchard? Like, do you ever worry about him overexerting himself? He's like, no, I never. Like, Peyton Pritchard is the one guy where it's like he can just keep going and go forever to the point that, like, after practice, he'll have to come in there and get him and say, all right, dude, that's enough, because practice will end and Pritchard will like challenge someone to one-on-one. He'll be playing for 45 minutes. And usually his response to when someone tells him you have to stop playing is F off. Like, my man loves hoop. Think about what we just talked about, guys, about like people missing games in the regular season and managing their load. That's Peyton Pritchard's worst nightmare. He plays in every single game. The Celtics won 78 games in the calendar year 2024. My man played in all of them. Like, missing a basketball game is the worst thing that could ever happen to Peyton Pritchard. He actually loves this stuff, which is kind of refreshing in today's NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why Danny drafted him, right? That was his last gift to us. Because it was starting to get ugly at the end, and I'm like, some draft picks wasn't so great, but Pritchard came in there. Once again, it was a rocky start early on. Then I remember early on he had the offensive rebound game winner in Miami. It was like, okay, we see the hustle there, but by the time he got there, there was a lot more, consistency. So I kind of want to stay there with the roster. So obviously, they've been spoken about, as far as their depth, and their depth is very big part of what they do and why they're so successful. But uh, would you make a small move at the deadline? Because obviously they've had some injuries, and certain guys have just haven't been around the way that they were last year, or even in years past. So would you look to make a move at the deadline, or would you try to keep building from within?
This roster to me is pretty much perfectly constructed when it's healthy. I mean, that's the asterisk. The
Right.
problem is, and I should have mentioned this when we were talking about the difference between last season and this season.
Yeah.
Missing Porzingis is massive
Yeah.
because first of all, your spacing on offense is so much better when he's in there. Your ability
Mhm.
to attack switches is so much better when he's in there. He's the most efficient post up scorer in the NBA for the second year in a row because he posts up when he has a mouse in the house. Like get the ball to 8 and let him
Right.
cook. He's either going to get fouled or score pretty much every time. And then he
Right.
stretches you out to 30 feet and he's 7'3". So offensively, he's such a weapon. But the more important thing is defense. And that's the only thing. That's the only area where, I could see trying to address a weakness would be rim protection because before KP came back, the Celtics were, bottom 10 in the league in terms of opponent field goal percentage in the restricted area. He comes back and we're first. Like
Right.
to me, it's a pretty clear difference he makes. And if he does miss time, then I would worry a little bit about that. But I'd rather this is me probably as a biased guy who, loves
Mhm.
watching these dudes play and loves watching them improve during the course of the season. But I'd rather roll with Luke and Nimi and, maybe change it up based on a matchup
Mhm.
and maybe go small or go double big than go out and try to find somebody else and, pigeonhole them into this group. Because Ray, the team is loaded already. I really don't think they need to make a move.
Well, I mean, but when I think about improvement, I'm thinking something really minimal. I'm not thinking some massive trade to go get like a big time name, because they don't need that. I agree with you on that. Um, I was a fan of Lonnie Walker in
Me
the.
too. I was thinking that name
I
when you were
knew was
saying it.
someone that could be a help, and even sometimes this year in the games where I feel like, okay, if some guys don't have it, or you want to give JB or Tatum just 2 or 3 more minutes, like you could put him out there with Pritchard, with Jordan Walsh or whatever. Jordan Walsh is another guy who has been really coming on as of
Much
late. So
improved.
maybe he's the guy that's built from within. He starts to make a thing. But um, yeah, I mean, even he was their teammate last year. He's the only one that didn't come back. Is O'Shea Brissett? Do you give him a call in February and say, hey, your energy was there last year. You was an energy guy for us. He was a guy that got key offensive rebounds. Do they give him a call in February and say, hey, come back and join the team? Or do you think that bridge is burned after what happened in the offseason?
That's a good question. I don't know, but I'll say that would warm my heart if O'Shea came back. Did y'all see he just posted a vlog about his free agency journey?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it up, because I'm just like,
Yeah.
he talked about how he thought more offense would be out there. And I did too. So to me, the agent should be fired, but that's just, and
Hey,
I'm just
bro.
like,
Hey,
you can't
bro.
say, you,
You
you know,
said it, not me.
yeah.
You said it.
I'm just saying, you can't say, hey, hey, we got this guy over here, 3 years, 12 million, or this guy we can get 4 years, 22 million, and none of those come up. And then now you're looking at Brad, and Brad's like, well, hey, we had a moment here for you. We brought back Cornette, we brought back, and so we signed Derek White, we signed Drew Holiday. So the money dried up, and now you could have came back on a vet minimum. Now you making vlogs at home. That's something wrong with that picture, especially when he's that young. I'm just saying. But
Hey,
once
man.
again, I'll take the heat for it. I said it. Like, to me, you can't be my agent if you can't give me some type of deal that's going to keep feeding me and my family, not for the foreseeable future. Just my thing. So
The whole
yeah,
thing is a bummer, dude, because he turns down an option for 2.46.
right,
And I mean,
yeah,
hindsight being 2020, obviously that was not the right decision. But, with that being said, I think for O'Shea, he wanted to go somewhere where he could get some more playing time.
mhm,
He really most of the time last year for the Celtics, with a couple exceptions, he really only played when either the game was in hand or
mhm,
when we had a lot of guys injured. There
right,
there were a couple exceptions, like Eastern Conference Finals, a couple big rebounds. He got a little bit of burn in the playoffs, but I think he was looking for somewhere he felt like he could contribute a little bit more,
mhm,
and that just didn't materialize. The surprising thing to me is that he hasn't gone to Europe or somewhere where he could get a bag and score a lot. I thought that would be the play, but it
Yeah,
hasn't.
I just think he really wanted to stay in the NBA, which is, I mean, which I get. Lonnie Walker, I think just wanted to hoop regardless. He was like, look, I can hoop, and I'm gonna show you NBA jokers that I can hoop.
Yeah.
And you guys missed out. All 32 seasons, y'all missed out on me. Because I'm like, if you're Brooklyn, what are you doing? You thought you were better off without him? Are you crazy?
They're trying to lose,
They
bro.
scared you? Are you dumb? Like what? Like what are you talking? Like, there's no way you thought you was better without Lonnie Walker. Like there's no way. There's no way. There's no way.
He can,
So
he can
sorry.
get buckets. He can get buckets, and there are a couple
Yeah.
times where and this is recency bias, but thinking about that OKC game where the offense is super stagnant. Be nice to have a guy like that. Now, I was
My
surprised that
language, maybe talking my language. That's
now
all. That's all I'm looking for.
I was surprised a little bit that Pritchard didn't get more run in the Oklahoma City game. But,
Mhm.
Celtics were fully healthy for just the second time all season. Other time was in late November. So the minutes are fewer and farther between. And that's a matchup where you're looking at OKC's backcourt. These dudes are big, man. It's like,
Yeah.
SGA 6'6", Jalen Williams 6'6". They're big, and that could be a problem for Pritchard. But we needed a spark offensively, and he's brought that so many times. Like, but a lot of the time that's been at home where he can kind of get the crowd back into it. We were
Mhm.
just we were just missing something. So maybe that's what they try to add at the deadline, or if bringing in Lonnie Walker again. I don't know, but to me, the bottom line is like the team is really well constructed. If they're fully healthy, um, I don't know if there's a move that would improve the team.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I just think if you're see, I want them to be so dominant to the fact that when we get to late March, early April, even though I know you're calling the games and you guys want to have fun calling the games, I want them guys to be on the bench. See, to me, that's when you're low managed. Like low managed when like last year when they were smoking folks and they can say, okay, Porzingis, you rest this game, you'll come back this game, or JB, you sit here. Like that's how you manage. Not in January when I mean, unless it's legit injury. That's when you do that. So that's what I'm looking for. I just want them to start running the table, going through these guys, so that when we get to late March, because once again, we're going to be there. You'll be there. I'll be there. Look, Lord knows for every game. So if the Bruins get into, we'll see. But we know that the Celtics are going to be there. So that's my dream. Once again, it may not happen like that. It may be too idealistic, but that's what I'm looking for. Is them to start running the table. I need, as you dubbed him last year, January J. I need January J to be the guy going forward so that they can start creating some separation. Because to me, Cleveland's not much of a threat. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Cleveland? Because to me,
Damn,
because
he's writing
okay,
them off like that. Mike, you
yeah,
see that? Damn.
31-4. They're not much of a threat. Yeah, you're
no,
right, dude.
because I'll say this. So, and I'll give you because I'm kind of like the historian of the show. I'll give myself that nickname. So to me, I feel like this Cleveland team is like the Cleveland, not the LeBron. I'm talking about the Cleveland teams that was in part of the Jordan era that had Brad Daugherty, Mark
Mark
Price,
Price.
Greg Elo, Hard Rod Williams. Were really talented. They were number one seed in the East in the early '90s, and that man that black cat came into the arena and got their ass up out of there. So I fully believe that if you put zero on the floor in a game 6 or a game 7 in Cleveland, he'll get the ass up out of there too, because we've seen it. So I trust Zero to get the job done, especially on the road. We've seen it in Milwaukee. We've seen it in Philly.
Mhm.
We've seen it in game 7 in Miami a couple years ago. So I trust Zero on the road. If it comes down to us against them in the game 6 or game 7 out there, I fully trust for him to get him up out of there. So that's why I said, and once again, hell of a team. They're going to break records. Kenny Atkinson is probably in running for Coach of the Year. I think it should be JB Bickerstaff, ironically, because
Yeah.
the fact that Detroit has 17 wins at this, I mean, come on, Drew. I'm like,
Yeah.
Detroit having 17 wins is amazing at this stage of the season compared to last year. So I know they added some guys on their roster, but it's unbelievable what I've seen for them to be even touching 500. So, but I'll let you give thoughts to that. That was a mouthful. So, do you see us? How do you see Cleveland matching up against Boston if we got to that stage?
Yo, I'm with you, Ray. I'm not as dismissive of Cleveland. Like I'll take us against anybody. But I'm not just gonna dismiss them, man. Like 31-4 is nuts.
Right.
They are not giving up ground. They are not coming back to the pack. That team is rolling and they can score that thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a Cleveland fan, and Scouts talked about this year, what I would worry about is the size of their backcourt. against our team,
Right.
especially where, we got the stock exchange with Drew and Derek White. We got our wings. And then we got size in the front court as well. They have size, down low, but do they have size out on the perimeter?
Mhm.
That's the problem. But,
Yeah.
keep in mind a lot of the wins Cleveland's rolled up already, they did without Max Strus. They've dealt with injuries. They're super deep. Dean Wade, our worst nightmare, like he's the guy who
Anyway,
came into Larry
yeah.
Bird against us in Cleveland last March. He's missed a lot of time. I'm not just writing them off, which I that's kind of how I felt at the start of the year when they won
Mhm.
15 games in a row. I'm like, all right, we'll stop that win streak and then they'll kind of come
And we
back to
did.
us.
Right. And we did.
Step one, check. Step two, not so much. Like they continue to rip off these wins,
Yeah.
and I think when a team is this good, they demand your attention. Same thing with Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
If a team wins 30 before it loses 5, like you got to pay attention.
Well, so to me, I think OKC is better than Cleveland,
I
personally.
agree with that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's where and once again, they're playing great team ball. And once again, Kenny Atkinson well, it wasn't to this level of success, but he turned around Brooklyn when he was there too. They was fighting for playoff
Yeah,
success. So he's a hell of a coach. I'm not taking it away, but I'm just saying when the shit hits the fan, right? And the rubber meets the road, whatever analogy you want to use, I'm riding with zero. Period. I did.
yeah.
There's no, and I can be the monster because I'm a fan. I'm not covering it. I'm not on TV. I can say that. So whether they're hearing it, it's cool. That's fine. They
Hey
can come
man,
this. They can come back to this big time show and hear me and hear my words. I'm cool. I'll stand on it. I'll stand on
bro.
10. I'm like you,
Just
Drew.
want to
I'm
say,
standing on this, baby.
Drew, I'm so happy that you get to meet this Ray, like the Kool-Aid Ray, because Haterade Ray from 3 years ago was wild. He was talking about burning it down, just like I was. I got him to the dark side, but
Mhm.
I mean, I think that this team they don't have as much to prove as they did last year or in the years before. But one thing that I wanted to ask you before we wrapped up was, can you talk about Joe Mazzulla and just his progression? Because a couple of years ago, it looked like the game or the moment might have been too big for him. But now it feels like he has complete control and command of everything that's happening on the floor, and you're right there. So, are you noticing a difference between last year and even this year, like in the huddles during timeouts, how he's talking with the players?
Well, you might have seen a little smile on my face when you brought up Joe Mazzulla because that dude is, to me, one of the most interesting people in sports and one of my favorite characters I've ever had the chance to cover. He is like the most interesting man in the world to me. Let me just tell you a quick story that just happened. Scal, Abby, and I, plus someone from our PR staff with the Celtics, we went to Disney because we were in Orlando and we were staying pretty close to the park. And I got these Disney passes through ESPN. So I'm like, all right, F it, we'll go. And we're coming back to the hotel, and this dude stops us in the lobby. And he's like, "Hey, Drew, Scal, and Abby, love watching you guys on the broadcast. Like, I live in Costa Rica, but I get the stream." I'm like, "Costa Rica, dude? Like, who are you? Why are you a Celtics fan? You weren't." Turns out his name is Josh Waitskin, and let me like the cliff notes of this dude's life. Incredible. He was a chess champion when he was like a teenager. There's a movie called Searching for Bobby Fischer, which is about him. He sort of got bored with chess, so he decided to pick up mixed martial arts and is like a jujitsu champion now. Now he's living in Costa Rica doing this different type of surfing where the board doesn't actually touch the water. It has a fin that touches the water. So anyway, dude's fascinating. He wrote a book called The Art of Learning. Joe read it, wanted to be in touch with him, and now like they're boys. So that's the type of thing. Like I think Joe Mazzulla he is drawn to interesting people who look at the world in a different type of way because that's what he is. Like he's a bit of a savant. And I think sometimes in press conferences, people will see his public persona and they're like, what's up with this dude? Like, what is his deal? Because he doesn't treat things like regular people do. He doesn't go through the motions. He's not trying to fit a role. He just is who he is. I think he's a great lesson in being yourself. Cause like you guys were probably saying it yourselves after the Celtics lost to the Heat in his first season as the coach. A lot of people didn't think he was ready for it and didn't think he was the guy for the job. They wanted to Jerod Mayo his ass and fire him after 1 year. And he didn't change who he was. He didn't change who he was one bit, and it paid off with an NBA championship. So to me, I love being around Joe because he is unique and he's not afraid to just be himself. And I do think he's getting more comfortable in the role. He said something to us the other night, which is the Celtics had a bit of a shaky December, lost 6 games in the month of December, which never happens with this iteration of the team. And he said, like, I understand the job in the media. Each game is its own story, right? So you got to react to each game individually, like we were talking about with the 3-point shooting. For the Celtics, for the coaches and the players, the season is the story. And each game is a different chapter, right? So you don't want to overreact to each segment. If there's a trend that becomes a big problem, like if we're shooting 83s and 15 twos in a game, then and we do that consistently, that's a problem. If we shoot 20% from deep for the entire season, that's a problem. If we do something defensively, like where we give up 50 layups in a game, and that happens for a couple weeks span, we're going to do something to address that. But I think the most valuable thing he provides to this team is his consistency and his belief in what they're doing is the right thing, and it's going to pay off in the end. And you saw the fruits of that labor last season.
Awesome. Well, we believe in what you're doing, and like we're going to let you get to dinner because we talked about that. We're not going to hold you too much longer.
Appreciate you.
Is there anything that you need to plug before you go? You can do that, and then we can get up out of here.
Watch the Celtics games on NBC Sports Boston. TNT has the game in Denver, but so do we, baby. If you want to watch the hometown broadcast, we got it. So check us out.
Yeah, I'll be tuning in late after the Brewers game, but I'll be there, man. But
pull it up on your phone, Ray. Put your headphones in.
We got to tear the building first.
Borrow Money Mike's nice headphones and watch the game.
I'll do that. So cool. So for Money Mike, I'm Playmaker Ray. He's Jerod Carter. Until next time, we'll see you. Peace.
Have you ever wondered what actually happens in Congress every day? Stay informed on Capitol Hill's daily happenings with a concise, factual summary of the Senate and House of Representatives' activities from the previous session, free from bias, on the Congressional Record Daily Digest podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and discover the process from the heart of U.S. politics. The Congressional Record Daily Digest, an Electricast production.
Electricast. Hey, heard you like podcasts? Well, check out Dollar Bets. 2 sports guys with faces for radio, betting live money against each other on air. That's Dollar Bets with a Z. Find us on the Winner's Edge.
Electricast.